Thanks, Susie. And James Dobney joins us now. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. And before we head to the phones to get your questions, we're just going to talk about some of the things to consider before starting an addition.
Yeah, some of the things that you might not think about when you're thinking about whether you put an addition on or not. And I guess number one for me is people should think they get emotionally attached to their houses. They think, well, we'll live in this neighborhood forever, but that doesn't happen. Typically, people move every 5 years. So find out how much your house is worth, look at the rest of the neighborhood, and then take the value of what you think your addition is going to cost and add it to that value of the house, and then look at houses. Get a realtor, look around, see what's available, and at least then you'll know whether it's worth it or not.
To really determine whether it adds value.
If you turn around and spend $50,000 or $100,000 and then you go to sell your house and you can't get the money out, that's tough. So that would be number one. Okay,
good point.
Number two would be, we prompt? Where we are. Sorry.
Does your house need other work?
Yes, does it need other work? And that's important. And that's, again, something you might not think about. You might spend $25,000 or $30,000 on a kitchen and then find out that you need a new roof and may not have the money for it. So my suggestion is get it checked before. And there are home inspectors can provide that service. Get a contractor in, but look at your house and say, okay, what do I have to spend over the next 5 years?
It's fun to have a nice kitchen. It's not as fun to, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't be short when it comes to that.
How about design?
Design. Get a good design. So get an architect, get a design builder, something like that. You can buy plans,
so
but
don't just do it yourself on a cocktail napkin.
Don't do it yourself. Go through the whole permit process as well.
Right.
That's important.
That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to getting a contractor, you want to look for referrals. Get people who have a good track record through friends, etc.
You hear too many horror stories that way, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Build in a contingency. So it always is going to cost more than you think, and it's going to take longer. So I would say 25%, give or take. But
it'll cost 25% more and take 25% longer?
At least, in most times. I don't want to be too negative about it, but the reality is you have to think about that and maybe be able to handle it.
At least if you plan for it, then hopefully it won't happen, right?
Exactly.
You have to plan for that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, James. Now let's head to the phones. Cheryl in Salmon Arm has a question. Hi, Cheryl.
Hello.
Hi, Cheryl.
What's your question for James?
Yes, I've got an older house, and the cement forms, when the basement was poured, there's the cement forms and then the brackets that go through. They've rusted through since, and water's coming through those forms, and now I can't go from the outside, so how would I repair it from the inside?
Yeah, what you're talking about are the form ties. They're metal form ties that hold the concrete forms together. And it's always best to do it from the outside, but you really don't want to have to get into digging. And that's a tough one. Is your basement unfinished? Can you see the concrete?
I can, yeah. I've got it torn apart
Right. Well, there are compounds that you can inject into that. There are systems that use epoxy or foam, and I would look at that. There are companies that actually specialize in that, or you can actually buy the material yourself. So you can inject those, and that should seal the crack as best it can from the inside. But you also have to pay attention to the outside. What's happening is the water's building up outside and it's finding its way through. So make sure your perimeter drain system is working properly. Make sure that when it comes down from your gutters into your downpipes, that it's taking it away from the house and you're not getting water gathering next to the house. So first off, address that. Secondly, patch the holes.
Okay, thank you for your question, Cheryl. We appreciate it. And so now we have a question from Claudia in Vancouver, and she asks, how do you know when your roof is ready to be replaced? You mentioned this, that you shouldn't do an addition in case you need a new roof. So how do you know?
Well, the roof one's tough, but people think, well, obviously if it's leaking, but the leaks are very often just areas, or small areas that can be patched through a flashing, etc. People say, well, I really shouldn't replace my roof until it leaks, but then you don't drive around on bald tires and wait for them to go flat, so that doesn't make sense.
And it could probably prolong the life of your roof if you just use maintenance.
If you use a maintenance plan, and you don't want to replace it before you have to because it costs you money. But my suggestion is, spring coming up, get a good roofing contractor, get a couple of them. Get opinions, get them to come out, and of course they're probably going to try and sell you a roof, but if you get 2 or 3 that look at it and say, okay, I think it's time for a roof, then you need to be aware of that. Get somebody independent, get a home inspector, get a builder to come out and look at it and give you an opinion on it, but do it before you need a roof, because otherwise you're going to be reacting to panic.
Right, of course.
And it's going to be a day like today, and you're
all of a sudden need a new roof.
Exactly. Don't assume, number one, just because it's leaking that it needs to be replaced. And number two, just because it isn't leaking doesn't mean that it shouldn't be replaced. So
I think I understood that.
hope so.
Thank you so much, James. We appreciate you coming in this morning. And next weekend, if you have any more questions for James, you can reach him at James Dobney Inspections. They're the number and his website and his email.